always finding strange things on the internet that aren't really enough to do a whole video on and don't really fit into any of my other videos, so this is the purpose of this video. If you guys enjoy this kind of thing, please let me know in the comments because I'd love to make it into a series. If you enjoy mysteries, true crime, disappearances and the occasional conspiracy, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. In July 2020, a video titled 05 July 2020 Bear Big was uploaded to YouTube. It appeared to show a UFO which quickly changed direction when a laser was shot at it. Here's the video.
Oh, here's another one right here. You see him? Flying right over our heads. And now he's turning.
Ooh,
Yeah.
flashed.
Yeah, you see him?
Yeah, it just flashed.
First of all, if I was that guy, I would not dare shine a laser at a UFO. I mean, I'm glad he did or we wouldn't have this video, but the guy's playing a risky game there. Most commenters were pretty impressed by the footage as there doesn't seem to be any obvious signs that it's fake. I don't really know much about how to tell if a video is fake. It's something I intend to learn more about, but at least to the average person, it seems like it could be legit. There were a few comments from people claiming to have seen similar flying objects at various different times. One comment read, "Eddie, I was in Joshua Tree 3 weeks ago. While everyone slept, I went outside for a smoke. There was no moon. I looked up because I saw two lights flying very close to each other, but they weren't flying straight. Almost looked like they could fast forward. I was in shock. I'm out there all the time, and yes, planes fly over, but not that close and not in that matter. This is spectacular." Another one read, "I finally see a video of what I saw in 2019, but in my case there were at least 3. They moved just like in the video and sometimes disappeared and appeared in seconds. I have no idea what it is, but they were too far away, probably out of the atmosphere or almost out of it." So what could this mysterious object be? It doesn't appear to be a plane because of the way it moves. It could be aliens, I guess, but this guy has posted many similar videos and this is the kind of thing that you'd see once in a blue moon. Maybe if he's always out looking for this stuff, then he's probably more likely to see it than the average person, but it's still hard to believe that he sees so many UFOs. I think the most likely explanation is that this is a bug or a bird. Probably a bug due to the way that it flashes. I think that's probably just light reflecting off it. I think it moves like a bug and you can see bugs flying past the camera at various points, and this supposed UFO just looks like one of those but further away. I'm not sure why the uploader kept a light on while recording. I'm pretty sure that's not the best way to shoot a video of the night sky. Things like planes and stars and even UFOs would probably show up better if there was no background light. It also reflects off things that we know are bugs. If the guy just hadn't have had the light on, then this wouldn't have happened. The channel has posted other videos to show the difference in what they believe to be the UFOs and bugs that fly past the camera, but I'm just not really convinced. Again, these supposed UFOs just look like bugs but further away than the others. Or it could even be a drone. And he always seems to film his videos with a light on in the background. If he genuinely believed these were UFOs, I'm not really sure what reason there would be to do this. If this is a hoax, you'd think that the title would be a little bit more descriptive and maybe mention UFOs or something, but it literally just has the date and Bear Big. So that maybe counts slightly towards it not being a hoax, but the video still has over 186,000 views. I'm sure it could have more if the title was a little more descriptive, but it still has a lot of views. Regardless, none of this is enough to convince me that this is an actual UFO or aliens, and I think the most likely explanation is a bug or a drone. This next thing is less creepy or mysterious, but it's still somehow a little unsettling. Take a look at these photos of people. I'm sure you're wondering what's strange about these photos. Well, none of these people exist. If you head to thispersondoesnotexist.com and keep refreshing the page, you'll see endless photos just like these, faces generated by AI. This isn't a brand new site or anything, it's been around for at least a couple of years, and I'm aware of similar things, but this is somehow the first time I've come across this site specifically, and I find it pretty fascinating. It's not perfect. There are a number of fails documented on the This Person Does Not Exist subreddit. Some of them are hilarious, but most of the time it does pretty well. And it doesn't end at faces. There's a site, This X Does Not Exist, which is a collection of various different things generated by AI, from cats to lyrics to cities. though I do find the faces most impressive. It's amazing to think that we have AI that can literally generate realistic looking faces and other things, but there is a potential dark side to this technology. Deepfakes are AI-generated photos, videos, or audio recordings that replace the existing person with someone else's likeness, so well that you often wouldn't even be able to tell. To be honest, deepfakes are probably more worrying than the technology used on This Person Does Not Exist, but both are pretty similar and both could be used to mislead people in one way or another. Whether that's generating an image of someone doing something illegal or a photo to be used in fake news or hoaxes, video and photo editing have been around for quite a long time. It's nothing new, but it's kind of getting worrying that it's almost at a point where we just can't really tell the difference. Up until pretty recently, you could believe something if you saw a video of it. I mean, again, video editing is nothing new, but there's always telltale signs that you can use to know whether something is fake or not. But now this technology is getting so good, how are we meant to trust anything or anyone? I'd totally be down to see a Black Mirror episode on this, and I'm kinda surprised there hasn't been one already. But possible future consequences aside, I still think it's pretty eerie to scroll through photos of people that don't exist. 4 months ago, a Reddit user posted on r/confession stating that they let their friend freeze on a park bench when they were 13. I never ever talked about this, but I just can't take it anymore. I was 13 years old and was going through this unruly teen phase, you know. Me and 2 of my friends decided to get some alcohol and get wasted after school. It's pretty easy to get booze as an underage person where I come from. So, when we left class, we went straight to the market and bought 2 bottles of a really strong drink called Askov. We went to a park and at about 5 PM we started drinking. We had that rush of doing something illegal, and after an hour or 2, we were already really drunk. About 7 to 8 PM, one of my friends passed out. He was the one who drank the most. It was his first experience with alcohol. And when he got unconscious, me and my other friends started to get worried. We put him laying down on a bench, tried to give him water, and did everything we could to wake him up, but he kept sleeping. A couple of hours passed and it was getting pretty late, so I made the worst decision of my life. I suggested to leave him there overnight so his mum wouldn't find out that we got alcohol. I unlocked his phone and texted her, "Mum, I'm sleeping at someone's today." Then we made him as comfortable as possible and left. I thought he would just wake up in the middle of the night and go home. I was so scared of my mum finding out. In the next day, he didn't answer any of my texts and didn't show up to school. A teacher close to his mother walked in our classroom and said he was in the hospital in an extremely serious situation. He experienced alcohol poisoning and hypothermia. His brain was damaged by his super low body temperature. He stayed about 12 hours in the hospital before he died. No one ever found out me and my friend were there with him that day, and we swore to take that to our graves. I told my mum I didn't want to go to his funeral because I couldn't take it, but it was actually because of the guilt. I never saw his mother again, and the people at my school don't talk about this anymore. Sometimes I wonder what life would he have had if I didn't leave him to freeze to death on that bench. This is just a really sad situation all round. OP is at least partly responsible for their friend's death. They made a really irrational and selfish decision that night that had huge consequences. But it clearly wasn't intentional, and they'll probably spend the rest of their lives hating themselves for it. In the same situation, many of us might not have done exactly what OP did. Of course, the right thing to do would have been to call an ambulance. But how many people watching this video can genuinely say that they've never made a stupid or selfish decision that could have ended really, really badly, but it didn't? And most of the time, things don't end bad. This is one of those tragic times where the worst possible thing that could have happened did happen. Most commenters seem to agree that OP should not tell their friend's mum what really happened. She probably already made peace with this, and being told a different version of events could just make her feel worse and undo any progress she made. I have to say I agree. I don't like lying, but in rare situations like this, sometimes telling the truth isn't the most important or the right thing to do. While it would possibly ease OP's conscience slightly, I don't think it would be helpful to the mum at all. I decided against actually investigating this one and finding out if it could possibly be true. I mean, there are slight hints in the post that could suggest where this person might be located, but I don't think anyone can gain anything from finding out what actually happened here. Searle is a former Royal Marine and councillor in the UK. In May 2017, he ran as a UKIP candidate in the UK general election for MP for Central Suffolk and North Ipswich, but came last out of 5 candidates. A few months later, on the 30th of December, something horrifying happened.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just killed my wife.
It's bad enough that he murdered his own wife, but it just gets eerier as the call progresses. He really just doesn't seem too fazed by what he's just done.
Bit different for you tonight, I expect. Happy New Year.
Okay, and how have you killed her?
Suffocation, really, I guess. Bit of a bizarre situation, but, you know, never mind.
Okay, is it just the two of you in the house?
Well, just the one of us now.
Right, okay.
Yeah, well, two, you know. Yeah.
Searle stays on the phone until the police arrive and you can hear him greet them.
Hello. Oh, hello, buddies. How are you, all right? Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Yeah, okay.
It's so unsettling how calm he is. He doesn't really seem bothered that he's just murdered his wife and doesn't really care about admitting it at this point either. Despite this, he still pled not guilty in court but was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. It's thought that he killed his wife, Anne, after she found out about his affair with his son's girlfriend. Her last Facebook post, days before her death, was said to be, "Happy Christmas, I hope I will still be here in 2018. We will see." Which is kinda suspicious and makes you wonder if Searle was violent to her in general, and maybe she had an idea what was going to happen to her. Either way, this is a tragic case, and the call itself tells you that this man deserved no less than to spend the rest of his life behind bars. A video recently went round on TikTok with the uploader claiming it came from the dark web. I'll play the clip and then we'll analyse it. First and foremost, this is obviously fake, but it's still creepy and looks pretty well done. I searched for a little while on Google before I found a video about this clip from 5 years ago which linked the channel that it originated from, Black Box TV. The original clip is almost 30 seconds long and shows the kid singing Super Bass by Nicki Minaj before she's grabbed and pulled under the bed. It's actually from 2012 and seems to have been shared on the internet on and off ever since then, but this is the first time I've ever seen it. So there's not really any mystery here, it's just a pretty well done scary clip. I always said for a long time that I'd never get TikTok, but I finally cracked and got it, and it's actually pretty addictive. But there are so many videos like this that claim to be from the dark web that with a few minutes research you know not to be the case. I totally get that it adds another layer of creepiness, I suppose, to the clip if you think it originated from the dark web. But the guy behind Black Box TV, Tony Valenzuela, obviously spent some time making this and deserves the credit. He doesn't seem very consistent with uploading anymore, and most of his newer videos seem to be just 360-degree trailers, which are cool if you're into that kind of thing, but a few years ago he had a series of short horror films. I watched a few of them and they're actually pretty good, I'd really recommend checking them out. 5 months ago, a post was created on Reddit titled, "My father discovered a strange backpack while taking a pee in the woods outside my small hometown in Wiltshire, England." It read, "A few years ago my father was urinating behind a tree in a small area of woodland just outside the small town in which we live. He noticed a backpack on the floor behind another tree. Being naturally curious, he searched the bag to try and identify the owner. Inside, amongst a small number of clothes, was a wallet. Upon opening, he noted the driver's license had a photo of a young Asian man on it. The name on the license has escaped my memory, so for the purpose of this story, I will refer to him as Adam Smith. Luckily, also inside the wallet, there was a small card with his home address on it, presumably for situations exactly like this. Perplexed by this bag, my father decided the best thing to do was return it to the address on the card, which turned out to only be around 3 miles away. When he gets to the front door, he is greeted by an older woman who was around 60 years old. My father asked the woman, 'Does anyone called Adam Smith live here?' Suddenly all of the colour drained out of the woman's face. She shakily replied, 'Adam has been dead for 5 years.' Completely taken back by this, my father pulled out the driver's license to show the woman. She told him that the man on the photo was not Adam, who was her husband. She proceeded to show my father photos of Adam, who was an elderly white man with a beard. Both the woman and my father were totally shocked by this, and when my father showed her the rest of the contents of the bag, she identified some of the objects in there, for example a pocket watch, that had belonged to her deceased husband. Adam Smith died of cancer and not under suspicious circumstances, and to this day no one knows why the bag was left in the woods and the true identity of the Asian man. An update stated that OP's dad went to the police, but they weren't going to pursue an investigation. So this is a pretty bizarre situation, and when I first read it, I didn't really know what to think. But my first thought was that it could be some kind of identity theft, but then still, why would this man have Adam's belongings? This was suggested in the comments. Maybe it was an illegal immigrant who stole Adam's identity, and a user suggested that maybe the Asian man was a hospital worker or funeral home worker or even a burglar and stole the items. I don't know if Adam's wife actually wants to investigate this further or not, but that'd definitely be a starting point. Take the driver's license to the hospital where her husband was, or the funeral home that sorted the funeral, and see if anyone recognises the man in the photo. It's still a bit weird that the address is still down as Adam's address, but maybe the thief just didn't get round to changing it, or maybe they just stole an existing licence from Adam when he was still alive, and just changed the photo on it. Unfortunately, the post only had 16 comments, none of which offer any further theories, so I think the identity thief theory is probably the most plausible we have right now. I wonder how exactly the backpack got there in the first place though. I can't imagine it's too common for people to just lose a whole bag. I mean, sure, things can probably drop out of a bag, but to literally just leave a whole bag behind, that's kind of unusual. And if we are to assume it's a case of stolen identity, wouldn't the thief be even more careful with the bag, considering it contained items proving that they are who they claim to be? You'd think they'd be even more careful with it than the average person would be with a bag. It being left in an area of woodland as well, I mean, what was the man even doing there? I wonder if it was intentionally hidden maybe, but then surely they'd do a better job of hiding it. OP hasn't posted much at all since this, let alone with an update, but I guess if the police are refusing to look into it, then there's only so much that OP can do. So I think it's very unlikely that we'll ever get an update or a resolution to this one. So I hope you enjoyed these random, creepy and mysterious things I found on the internet. I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments, as well as other strange things you might like me to include in a future video. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing and checking out my Patreon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday in a new video.